Welcome to the Taped Podcast, the most cruel podcast in the world. We are your hosts, myself, Michael.
And me, Michal.
Minus Louis again today. Where the fuck is he? I have no idea.
Louis could make it. He has a doctor's appointment. He is sick right now with flu-like symptoms. We suspect he may have coronavirus, but we won't know until the tests come in.
It is true. And for now, you got me and Michal. That is probably not going to be an issue at all. And today we're going to be doing the same formula. 4 albums, 1 classic, 3 new ones. Today we're going to be doing Man Alive by King Krule, West of Eden by HMLTD, Color Theory by Soccer Mommy, and for the classic, Closer by Joy Division.
Ooh.
that was just very down, like, ooh.
Yeah. I didn't want to ooh at that.
To be fair, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
so starting wherever you want.
All right, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's start with West of Eden.
All right, sweet.
All right, do you have a synopsis on them, or?
Of course I do. HMLTD, previously known as Happy Meal Limited, are an English rock band formed in London in 2015. West of Eden is their long-awaited debut studio album after releasing singles from this album for like the last 3 years. I think the earliest single released was in February 2017. So this album has been long in the waiting, but it's here now.
Yes, and let's get into it.
All right, track 1, The West is Dead.
I really enjoyed this track. It was a great opener. It set the tone very well for the rest of the album. The instrumentation was good. I really liked the bass on this one. The drums were great, and I like that kind of like deserty like guitar in it as well.
Yeah.
Like vocally,
Bassline is awesome.
First, yeah. Vocally, it was kind of off-putting at first, but after a few more listens, I got used to it, and I really liked the performance given on here by all the members of the band.
Yeah, as I said, the bass line is awesome. The drumming throughout the track is tight. It's great. It suits the song really well, and I think the vocals from vocalist Henry Spachalski are unique. They almost sound kind of Talking Heads like at times. But I loved his vocal performance, not only on this song throughout this whole album, but yeah, on this song, I think it was a great song, great opener. Yeah, I'd give it an 8.
I also gave it an 8.
Loaded is the next track.
This is probably one of my favorite tracks in the album. I love the powerful instrumentation. The bass is pretty good on it. It's heavy, the synths are good, and the distorted guitars were a really nice touch. And I really enjoyed the vocal performance as well. I thought it was great, especially on the chorus. The chorus was actually probably my favorite part of the album. I love how fucking heavy it was and how, like, you could say kind of industrial-ish it was. It was really good. I really liked it.
Yeah, I love the whole energy of this track. I think it's very catchy. Great instrumentation, especially I love the guitars and like the harsh synths during the chorus. The chorus itself was very harsh, very catchy though. Aside from that, and yeah, I thought it was a memorable track for sure. One of the catchier on the album.
Yeah.
Overall, I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 9.
Ooh. The next track, The Ballad of Calamity James. It's just an interlude.
This is just a guitar interlude going into the next track. It has kind of a Western feel to it. I really like that aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Western aesthetic, To the Door is the next track.
To the Door is an amazing track. I fucking love this track. The instrumentation is great. I love the desert guitars again. Gives off that kind of old West territory. It's hard. It's aggressive. The transition was great. Vocal performances were absolutely fantastic from the lead, especially on the build-up to that, like...
Yeah, to the door, to the door, to the door,
to the door, to the door. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
That was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, the energy of this track is insane. Crazy performance from vocalist Spachalski. The guitars and drums completely kick ass throughout this whole song. And on top of that, it's catchy as heck. Easily one of the standout tracks for me. Also, the trap kind of like breakdown that comes in and slows the track down is just completely out of left field, but very memorable nonetheless.
This track, I give it a 10.
Oh, I give it a 9.
This
Damn son. Satan, Luella, and I.
one it's slower, has a kind of a slower build up. It's atmospheric. I really enjoyed the transition. I thought it was pretty sick. Yeah, again, vocals are great. I really enjoyed the vocal performance, and this was another good track or great track in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought this was an incredible track. Probably one of my 2 favorites on the album. I think there's just so much to this track. The catchy, passionate lyrics and performance from Spahalski. The fucking female backing vocals kick ass as well. I love when they come in and like the song kind of like goes up a tone. Just everything about this track is just very grand and almost overwhelming in a good way.
I gave it an 8.
I give it a 10.
Bruh.
Mikey.
It has this kind of like 80s like synth vibe going on to it. The bass playing on it was great. I really loved that. The performances again were very good. It's not my favorite track on the album, but it's certainly a good one anyway. It fits well with the whole flow of the album, in my opinion. I think it's a pretty cool addition to this whole theme.
Yeah, on first listen, this wasn't my favorite song, but over multiple listens, it kind of clicked, and I think I would say this is probably my favorite track on the album. I love how it's a bit of a step down in intensity from a lot of the previous tracks. It's just like a more low-key, pretty emotional song. Definitely inspired a lot by 80s synth music, especially the chorus sounds straight out of the 80s. And throughout the verses are just really catchy to me. Funky instrumentation is great, especially the bass playing and drums. And then the chorus I love. It's my favorite part of this album, I'd say, the chorus on this track.
It's alright. I give it an 8.
I give it a 10.
We just get a quick pause for a second.
Yes. Pause to my homie. Alright. Let's get back into it.
Alright.
Next
Why?
track. Yeah. This was a weird as fuck track. These odd kind of edited pitch, I think Japanese vocals. I mean, a bit confusing to me. It seemed a bit out of left field. I didn't hate it at all. I did enjoy it. I do treat it more like an interlude on the album because it doesn't really have its own purpose as a stand-alone song, in my opinion.
I mean, I like the song. I like the violins and the xylophone. It has a powerful like synth reprise in it. It was cool. The vocoded weeb was a bit weird, but
Yeah.
I can kind of excuse that because I do actually kind of like this track, although it doesn't really fit well with the whole vibe of this album.
Yeah, I agreed. I gave it a 6 for that reason mostly.
Give it an 8.
149 is the next track.
It's got cool instrumentation. It feels more laid back, like in the opening. Tallulah's part was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like it's kind of like opera-esque. This whole track, you could say.
Yeah, but in a very like eerie way.
Yeah, like the LP vocals again were really good. I really enjoyed that. Overall, it's a cool track. I really enjoy it, but it's not my favorite on the album per se.
Yeah, I've like somewhat back to the usual after the previous track for me. Yeah, the highlight of this song for me was the chorus from Tallulah Eden. Just sounds, as you said, like very opera-esque and opera-esque and opera-esque. What the fuck am I talking about? And just grand, but at the same time, it's very like eerie and subtle. And yeah, it's one of the more memorable parts of this album for me. Aside from that, the instrumental is great throughout. I love the glitchy trumpet samples. I think that was the standout for me in terms of instrumentation. And as a whole, yeah, it wouldn't be my favorite track, but far from the least memorable either. I thought it was great.
I gave it an 8.
I also gave it an 8. Joanna.
It's the pianos are pretty good. They're eerie as well. It feels like a play, something like that. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
ghostly, like that whole kind of like groovy, like jivey feel it kind of has. You could say.
yeah. I know. It kind
The
of
dark.
reminds me of yeah, it reminds me a bit of the song "Mama" by My Chemical Romance.
Hmm?
It has this like it has this kind of like gypsy almost feel to the guitars. Yeah, just I love that aesthetic. I think it's used great here, and I think it's a nice, great little theatrical track.
Yeah, it's a pretty good track. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I give it an 8.
I also give it an 8.
Next track, Where's Joanna?
It's the second part to the Joanna track.
Mm.
It's pretty unhinged instrumentally. I really like it. It's again pretty eerie, and the performances and the lyrics were really dark as well. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of like vividly describing like someone being caught like killing someone. You could say
yeah.
like it's a bit weird. And I think Fantano said it was a metaphor for identity or something like that.
There's a lot
Like
to read in with the lyrics on this album. Like we
yeah,
can't really begin to explain everything.
I know it's complex as hell, but
Yeah.
we're not here for complexity. If you want complexity, go to the melon.
Go listen to it yourself and go on Genius or some shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
I really like this track. I think it's better than the first Joanna
I agree.
track. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, very aesthetically similar to the first Joanna track, especially when how the instrumentation is put together. But on this track, it's a lot more grand, and there's a lot more like synths and electronic instruments. When the song kind of explodes with this theatrical kind of melody, it's just it's chaotic and it's very memorable, very great. On top of that, very catchy, which is a good thing. Makes the song stick in your head more. Yeah, this is one of the highlights for me.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites from the album too. I gave it a 9.
I also give it a 9.
Big woo!
Death Drive.
Slow build up again into this
Yeah.
explosive chorus. And the second half of the track, in my opinion, is the best. I really like how catchy it was. And basically, the vocals again are pretty yelpy, and the lyrics are pretty much stating that America is fucked at this point. Well, that's what I'm interpreting from it anyway.
Yeah, I like starts off very slow, as you said, with this just pulsating percussion, just kind of very industrial sounding, and then over the course of the song, it just explodes, and it does get better for me as the song goes on. But overall, while it is a good song, it's far from memorable for me, and it does kind of lack a lot of the personality of some of the other tracks for me. And I would say it's my least favorite on the album. I think.
I think it's one of the best on the album. That's a pretty
To each their own.
To each their own.
I give it a 6.
Give it a 9.
Nobody Stays in Love.
This is the close to this is the closest that a track has gotten to commercial.
Yeah, I agree.
On this album, you would say, like, especially in the chorus, like the chorus just feels so kind of poppy and stuff like that, which isn't a bad thing. I really like the chorus; it's very catchy. Instrumental, it's kind of like plucky, has a nice build up to it, and I really like the background vocals as well.
Yeah, this almost sounds like a good U2 song. I think it's a very emotional song. It's not as aggressive and charismatic as some of the other tracks. It sounds like it's more from the heart, more personal, and I think it's a nice change up. Love the synth line on this. Chorus is memorable as fuck, and yeah, all of this track, I love the instrumentation, and I think it's very well put together, and it's a nice moment in the album, I think.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.
I also give it an 8. 2020 AD is an interlude, so
Yep, it's just a small little interlude, nothing to really touch on there. Blank Slate is the next. Blank State or Slate, is it?
Oh god, I don't know. Should we do a quick search?
Nah. It's
Blank Slate. You're right.
Professional podcast, everyone. Professional podcast.
We do our research on the spot.
The guitars and the synths were really good on this track. I really like the chorus too on this one, but it's not my favorite on the album. I'd go as far as say it's the worst on the album. Like I didn't really like it as much. I didn't find it as memorable as everything else.
I definitely wouldn't say it's my least favorite on the album. I love just the synth-based instrumental on this track. Kind of reminds me of like LCD Sound System meets MGMT. Other than that, the vocals are just catchy and fun throughout. The backing vocals stood out quite a lot to me. Very catchy at times. And yeah, the chorus to me was the highlight of the song by far.
All right. I gave the track a 7.
I gave it an 8. War is Looming, final track.
This is a great closer. I like how cinematic it was, and it ties together the album very well. I really like this track. I thought it was one of the better closing tracks that we gotten from a lot of albums this year. I would say it's probably my favorite closer so far this year.
I mean, I did like the track through and through, but I was expecting more of a just hectic and like grandiose closer. And this ended the album on more of a subtle note, which isn't bad, but I don't feel like it's as memorable as the closer could have gotten.
All right.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7 also.
Yeah, overall thoughts?
Overall, this album was a pretty enjoyable experience. It was a great debut album from HMLTD. I think each song is pretty good. Some of which don't really have much of a purpose on this album. Probably would have been better off maybe somewhere else, but ultimately they had some standout tracks in this album that I listen to regularly. I think they're really good. I really enjoyed the instrumentation on it, especially like on the first half of the album. That was probably my favorite half. There was some great, like, memorable songwriting on there, catchy choruses, some great instrumentation, and overall, just a great album. I really like this one. It's probably one of my favorites of the year so far.
I agree. I love this album. I love how in your face it is through and through in a way it feels almost psychotic. I love just the insane yet charismatic performances from frontman Henry Spikalski. I love the explosive, ever-changing performances from the whole band. I just think everything here comes together to make something really memorable, and it's easily one of the standout albums for me this year.
Overall score?
I gave it a decent 8.
I also gave it a decent 8.
Woohoo!
All right, next album.
Next one. Your pick.
We'll do Color Theory next.
All right, sweet. So Color Theory by Soccer Mommy. Soccer Mommy is the stage name of American singer-songwriter Sophia Allison from Nashville, Tennessee, and Color Theory is her 4th studio album.
That's it?
Yeah, I don't write fucking whole biography on them.
Fair.
Just so the reader has somewhat of an example of who they are, where they're from, and how far into their career they are.
Right, that's fair enough.
I never give much more than that.
Fair. To be fair, yeah.
Yeah, let's just get into the album. Let's get through it.
Let's get it done.
First track, Bloodstream.
I thought this was a pretty solid opener. The production is decent. The guitars and the drums are pretty nice. Vocals are pretty good, and lyrically I picked up that it was probably about reminiscing. That's what I got from it, and it was a pretty nice opener. It's pretty minimal. Really liked it.
Yeah. Through and through, there's these like pleasant, relaxed guitar strums. Also pleasant, well mixed, might I add, vocals from Allison. It's a rather slow song that kind of builds up more as it goes on with more electric guitars and synths, but through and through it's a slow song, a slow burner, and a low key kind of note to start the album off.
I agree. I gave this track a 7.
I also give it a 7. Circle the Drain.
I really enjoyed this track. I thought
Mm.
instrumentally, it's really good. Vocally, it's pretty good. Lyrically, it's good as well. Like it, I'm trying to remember. Is it? No, that was the next track. I mean, this one was really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great. There was a great vocal performance from Soccer Mommy. She did very well. It was probably one of the more standout tracks in the album.
Yeah, I think from start to finish, this song is incredible. The songs just sound really nostalgic to me. It was like this whole song sounds like it's straight from the 90s. Sophia's vocals are great, especially in the pre-chorus and chorus, really stand out there. The chorus, speaking of the chorus, is incredibly catchy. There's a lot of subtle layers on top, like of the already great guitars. There's like slight synths. There's like more subtle electric guitar twinkles in the background, and just it has more layers than on first you may first notice. And I think overall this might be definitely the best song on the album for me, but I think this might be the best song Soccer Mommy has ever released, in my opinion. And I gave it a 10.
I gave it an 8.
Royal Screw Up.
Again, it's minimal up to the halfway point, and I do really enjoy this track. It's more about insecurities in oneself. I really like the messaging of this track, and I like the emotional potency of it. And I really enjoy it. I like how minimal it is. I do enjoy the instrumentation on this quite a lot.
Yeah, as a whole, I thought it's a stripped back song from start to finish. I think the vocals are mixed pretty well, but they don't really shine as much as they did in the previous track. And I think they should have gotten they should have taken stage a bit more, considering this is a more stripped back song. And it really would rely on the vocals, because instrumentally I just didn't find this that interesting at all. It's vocally just alright. From the previous track, she showed us that she can do a lot better. And this is not my favorite track on the album at all.
Fair enough. I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 5. Night Swimming.
Again, it's again very stripped back, minimal. It's really atmospheric. I do enjoy this atmospheric, like minimal production quite a lot. And
God, my chair's croaking.
your chair's having a stroke.
It's trying to review the album.
It's trying to have a voice of its own. And I really enjoyed the vocal performance on this track in particular. I thought this was more standout on this track. But Circling the Drain definitely had a better vocal performance, but this one is definitely up there with some of the best on the album, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very dreamy track, and I think the vocals suit the atmosphere very much. The instrumentation as well, it feels just right. Like there's these faint sparkles of the guitar, and the sounds of a stream flowing in the background all come together to make like one great piece, and it's a very atmospheric, dreamy track. And yeah, I'd say it's one of my favorites on the album for sure.
I gave it an 8.
I also gave it an 8.
Woo!
Crawling in my skin. These wounds, they will not heal.
Please fucking stop, I'm going to leave.
Crawling in my skin. It's actually the name of the song. I wasn't just singing Linkin Park. I almost said Limp Bizkit. Same thing, let's be honest.
Bruh, that's disrespectful. Alright, look.
Yeah, let's get into the actual song.
I enjoyed the song. The instrumental is good. I really, really like the guitars on this one. I thought the mixing was pretty good. Vocally, again, I really enjoyed the vocals on this one. I thought the vocals were very good. I really got a nice standout track from this one. And I go as far as to say it's like my third favorite on the album.
Yeah, it's more upbeat than the previous track, and the instrumentation through and through is pretty fun actually. I thought the overdub vocals sound awesome. They suit the song a lot, and the guitar sounds really good as well, and I'd agree with your sentiment that this is one of the standout tracks.
Mhm.
I gave it an 8.
Also gave it a solid 8.
Yellow is the color of our eyes.
What's that? That's not normal. Please get checked out.
I think there's a condition like that.
I
I'm
know
not gonna
there's
research it. I'm sure there is.
out here looking like Geralt from The Witcher.
Actually, maybe it's not a condition. Maybe I was just thinking of The Witcher.
Maybe you're a witcher.
No, it's probably not a real condition. I just probably mixed up The Witcher in real life. Everyone, excuse me. I'm
Come on,
gonna
Witcher's
lose
the
my
game.
mind.
I don't blame you.
Actually is.
All right.
This is a music podcast. It's not a gaming podcast. That's coming soon.
Really?
No.
All right. This one, I think the best part of this track for me was the drums and the guitars. They really were kind of the meat and bones of this track, you could say. Like I think it blends well together. I really enjoy it, and vocally, again, I thought it was pretty good. I really liked it. I again got another great track in this album. I really liked it.
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, as soon as I'd seen that this is 7 minutes long, 7 minutes is an ambitious track length for an indie pop song, but I think Sophia, I mean, really fills in that time very well. Vocally, it's great right off the bat. There's a slight reverb on the vocals that I think just sound right. That sound just right for the atmosphere of the track. You'd think I could talk. I'm doing a podcast. You'd think I'd be able to talk at least.
I think you'd be able to say a sentence without stuttering.
I can say some sentences. Anyway, so many subtle layers to this track. There's like sparkles of synths, there's light acoustics through and through, and it all comes together to form this kind of comforting yet depressing track. And yeah, the song explodes at the end, and I think it gives us one of the most memorable moments of the whole album.
All right, I gave this track an 8.
I also gave it an 8. Up the Walls.
Kind of cutting out a bit.
Oh shit, am I?
Yeah.
Well, it's fine. I think you cut out a bit too there. We'll hope that the recording's fine.
Hopefully. Up the Walls. Instrumentation is kind of the same as kind of what we heard before on the tracks, but I still really like it. I still mess with it heavy. I think vocally, again, it's very good. I think vocally this is a great performance. I really enjoy this track as a whole. This was the point where I thought it was getting one-dimensional, but I didn't let that take away from the enjoyability of it, you know? Like, you can be one-dimensional to some degree and still have some form of enjoyability, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, for me, I think this was actually my second favorite track in the album. This begins with an acoustic guitar right off the bat. And there's also very heavy reverb just on all the instrumentals and on the vocals. And like behind the guitar and light drumming, like very light drumming, there's this ambient instrumental that like kind of haunts this track. And this was maybe the track other than Circle the Dream that I came back to listen to the most. And it is one of my favorites for sure.
All right, I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 9.
C.
Fair. Go ahead.
Okay, again, instrumentation is pretty decent, although I did find that this track was a bit too long for my liking. Like, it failed to kind of pique my interest for that long, but it's still pretty good vocally and instrumentally, so I'll give it that, you know?
Yeah, vocals are a standout here for me. Other than that, the guitar melody is quite fun. Yeah, it has a nice chorus as well on top of that. And I don't think it's bad at all. It wouldn't be a standout. But yeah, we already got pretty much through all the standouts. But yeah, I think this is Overall, I think it's very good. I don't think it does much new, but I think what it does, it does very well. So yeah, I do like the sound.
I gave it a 7.
I also give it a 7.
Dane.
And the start of
Minimal.
this song sounds like "Use Yourself."
It does. That's. Uh, I think this track is good. It's minimal with like an eerie feel to it, especially with the lone guitar. And the vocals are really good as well. But then again, it's not that standout for me. It's not one of the better tracks in the album. Personally, I think it's the worst track on the album. But that's just my take.
I agree completely.
Ooh.
I think the overdubbed vocals are like the main driving point of the song. But other than that, there's very little happening throughout the song in terms of instrumentation or even a vocal change up. And I would say this is my least favorite track on the album.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 5.
Bruh.
Grey Light.
Like, similar to the last track, it's still minimal, yet has an eerie feel to it. Again, vocals are really good, but also, it's pretty similar to what we heard on this album already. And personally, I didn't really think it was that great of an outro, but it's still good. Like, I still found enjoyment of it, and I think it was a decent enough closer for this whole album.
The song starts with this more quiet, soft, and eerie atmosphere, similar to the previous track. But it's definitely a lot more interesting. As a whole, it's still quite a soft song, but and I would have preferred the album closed. Similar actual complaint to the previous album. I would prefer if there was a more just explosive track to end the album off. But it's not a bad ending, and it's not a bad song at all. It's actually quite good. Definitely a lot more interesting than the previous track. And yeah, I think it's a good track.
I give it a 7.
I agree.
Overall thoughts and opinions.
I'll start this time. I think on Color Theory, Sophia Allison's confidence in her craft and her music seems to be at an all-time high. I thought I did like a lot of her previous works, and they were all filled with just good indie pop songs. But as a whole, they did kind of lack an overall direction. But on this album, I feel like it's a step up in that department, and the album just flows into the next song. It's more musically aware, and I think it wants to stand out more musically, and vocally, lyrically, I think she's like trying to just put herself on a higher pedestal, and just she's doing everything she can. She's being herself, and I think it's a step in the right direction for Soccer Mommy, and I'm hoping for more albums like this, more albums where she's more confident and aware in the direction she's taking. And not to mention that there's some absolutely great songs on here. And Circle to the Rain, as I said, is probably my favorite Soccer Mommy song ever so far.
It's fair. Personally, this is the first Soccer Mommy album that I've listened to, and I can go ahead and say that this is a pretty good introduction to her music. I really enjoyed this minimal approach to the instrumentation, but I feel like that is there for a purpose, because I feel like vocally this album is carried a lot, because I think that the vocals are fantastic. I really enjoyed the singing on this one, and of course there are some really great tracks that probably some of my favorites that came out of the year so far. And it kind of gets stuck in your head, and I really like that. Like, it's catchy. I really like the catchiness of it. Overall, I feel like this is a great album if you're into something minimal, yet with great vocal performances. I really enjoyed this album quite a lot. I think it's pretty good.
Overall score?
I gave it a decent to strong 7.
I also gave it a decent to strong 7.
Hey,
We're agreeing here, but I think that's about to come to an end because the next album is Man Alive by King Krule.
hey.
I'll give a little introduction, as I always do. King Krule is the alias of Archie Marshall, who is a English singer, rapper, songwriter, record producer, and musician from London. Man Alive is his 4th studio album overall, 3rd under the King Krule moniker. He released his 2015 album, what's it called? A New Place to Drown, under his real name. And yeah, it's his first album since The Ooze back in 2017. Yeah, not much else to add.
Let's get into it. First track,
Yeah.
Cellular.
You go first.
Okay, right. I think this is a pretty good opening track. I do enjoy the guitars, the kicks, and the bass playing is really good on this. This was standout for it. This I have this down in my notes. The snare sounds like it came from Saint Anger.
I think that really suits this track a lot more than it did a thrash metal album.
Yeah. I thought vocally King Krule was unengaging. I'm not a fan of his vocal performance on this track. I just kind of felt it took away from my enjoyment of it. But other than that, it's a good intro. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I thought it was a great opening track. I love how this like glitchy synths kind of hold together this just blunt, just drum beat. Archie's vocals, I think, sound as sinister, as sarcastic as usual, and this whole track just has this kind of looming atmosphere that I think really grabs you, and I think that makes a very good opening track to the album.
Alright, I gave this track a 7.
I gave it an 8.
This track, Supermarché, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought this track was just okay. Instrumentally, like nothing happens for half of it. Then it picks up, but then just like becomes anticlimactic as hell for me. I think that King Krule's like layered, like reverberated vocals are uninteresting. I didn't really find any kind of enjoyment out of them. I didn't really think the instrumental in the back helped with that either. I don't know. I didn't really think it was anything standout or great. I just thought it was okay for the most part.
Well, I thought this was another sinister track. With like very minimalist drums. The instrumentation on this is almost like a compilation of just unsettling sounds, and I think just Archie's vocals show a lot of emotion, especially as the song is like explodes. They just pound and like shows this kind of subtle anger. And I think it's a very interesting track, and I think it just kept me on edge after the first track. Yeah, I really liked it.
I gave it a 6.
I gave it an 8. 1 second, I'm just gonna. Yeah, there.
What was that?
I was just locking the door. Stoned Again.
Stoned Again. It's minimal. It's sinister yet ugly. The guitars were pretty nice, and I didn't really like the rough and like shouty vocals from Archie. I don't know. I just didn't like him.
This was probably my favorite track on the album. I love the grimy as fuck bassline drum beat. Archie's vocals are just aggressive, angry as fuck, and like the track instrumentation just kind of devolves into chaos along with him. Yeah, I think it was an awesome track.
I gave it a 6.
I gave it a 9.
Vomit Face. I thought this track was pretty good. I really like the guitars. The brass instruments were nice. The bass was cool. The mix was a little weird, but I didn't really mind it that much. And honestly, Archie was pretty decent on this. I actually enjoyed Archie's performance on this track, and it was probably one of my favorite tracks in the album. Kind of better from it.
Yeah, the track is unsettling as usual, especially with the just random sped up vocal samples in the background. And yeah, I thought that was a great performance there from Marshall. He kind of helps this track almost delve into insanity.
Who's Marshall?
Archie Marshall.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, if there's any Archie fans here, please don't murder me. I give this track a 7.
I gave it an 8.
Oh God, kill me.
Where are we? The Dream.
I thought that I didn't score. It feels more like an interlude than anything else. That lone guitar was decent enough, I suppose. Vocal performance from Archie was okay. I thought it was all right.
Yeah, the song starts a lot more calm, mostly coming from Archie's vocals that sound like he's on a low from the energy of the previous track. The backing track is quite nice as well, very subdued, and I think it's a nice change of pace after the previous track. You didn't score it. I gave it an 8.
All right, fair enough.
Perfecto miserable.
Miserable.
I don't know if it's miserable or miserable.
Whichever, doesn't really matter at this point. Here, you go first.
Yeah, I love the eerie, unsettling instrumental. Almost lifeless vocals from Archie, but in a good way. The track just sounds apocalyptic at times, and even when the song kicks into gear as it progresses, it feels like it's desperately just trying to break out of its slumber. And it was one of my standout tracks.
Can we take a quick pause again?
Of course we can. Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Perfecto Miserable. This was my favorite track on the album. Ooh. I really liked the instrumentation. I thought it was very good. I loved the whole atmosphere of it. And I actually enjoyed Archie's performance. I really thought he did well on this one, and I really enjoyed the vibe this one gave off. It was my favorite track on the album, and yeah, I actually liked it. You know, it was one track I came away from this album with.
Sweet. I gave it an 8.
I also gave it an 8.
Alone Omen 3.
I think this one it's all right. Like the weird distortion was cool. I guess it was nice guitars and nice drums. It was very minimal again. Vocally, again, I thought it was okay. Didn't really grab my attention that much.
Yeah. First of all, I thought the drums were awesome and they were mixed very well, and the track is just kind of built up around them. Archie sounds as depressed as ever, but I do think the vocals shine in a way at some points in kind of a dark and melancholy way. And for me, it's another brilliant track.
All right. I give it an 8. I give it a 6.
Slinky.
It's kind of low. This one's kind of like lo-fi-ish, you could say. Like guitars.
All of these are in a way.
The guitars, they kind of got like a desert atmosphere on this track from what I picked up. The vocals are pretty uninteresting. Again, I'm just going to be blunt with this. Again, it was kind of, I just didn't find it all that interesting.
For me, once again, it was a very atmospheric and dark track that kind of starts off quite slow. But when the song picks up and explodes, the build-up is worth it, even if the energy is brief. But I didn't come away with a lot from this track in comparison to some of the other tracks. I thought it was still great, but not a standout to me.
All right, I gave this one a 6.
I gave it a 7. Airport Antenna Airplane.
I think this is one of my least favorite tracks on the album. I didn't really find the instrumentation all that interesting or memorable in this case. I don't know. I just thought Krule's vocals were just lazy. I just didn't like how they blended with this track, and overall, it's like it's in the middle. Like I don't think it's bad or anything. None of these songs are bad. I just don't find them that interesting.
Well, I thought this was a pretty great song actually. It kind of starts really sleepy, and then out of nowhere, the drums just kick in quite fast, and the song begins to kind of move at a fast pace, but without Archie, who seems to just not be in a hurry at any point. And the overall like result is a song that's quite bleak and almost unorganized, but in a good way. And yeah, it was quite memorable for me.
I gave this track a 5.
I gave it an 8.
This
And
track,
don't let the drag on.
Drag on.
Drag on.
Again, the long guitar and the drum were alright. I don't know. I just didn't find this one interesting at all. The weird vocal effects didn't really help either. I don't remember this track all that much. It's just blocked off from my memory at this point. I just didn't really like it.
Well, if I'm correct, this was the first single released from the album. If not, then it was definitely the first one I heard. And at first, when I heard it, it didn't really catch my attention at all. But I do really appreciate it a lot more in the context of the album. I think the guitar is quite nice. The synths at points sound like serene and ethereal, and overall, it fits a lot well in the context of the album for me, and I did come out enjoying this a lot.
I gave this a 5.
I gave it an 8. Theme for the Cross.
I didn't really find it that interesting. The piano was okay. The weird mixing was, weird. There was a slow build up, but I just didn't like Archie's performance at all in this track. He sounded like he doesn't even have half a fucking pulse. Like, I'm just gonna be real with you and be blunt with this. I just don't find the vocals interesting. I'm sorry. I just don't like them that much.
For me, this track is it's 4 minutes of just sinister, unsettling ambience, and I think it's a perfect fit for this period of the album. And Archie does kind of just speckle the instrumentation with some very bleak, very lifeless vocals. I would say it's a good thing. You may beg to differ. But overall, this track is largely instrumental, and I can't really name many ambient tracks that just sound this bleak and dystopian.
I gave this a 5.
I gave it a 9.
Jesus Christ.
Underclass.
This one was one of my favorite tracks on the album. I really enjoyed the instrumental. It was pretty decent. It had a nice atmosphere to it. The sax was great on this one. Lyrically, I thought it was pretty good as well. It wasn't too bad vocally from Archie either. I actually really liked this one. I actually play it quite regularly, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see why, because the instrumental is actually quite calm and serene, and I think as a whole, this might be the most traditionally pleasant track on the whole album. And I think that alone makes it stand out, but I think there's a lot more to it. I think the instrumentation is great. Every sax, every synth, I think, serves its purpose in this track. And Archie gives off a very passionate and memorable performance. And I gave it an 8.
I also gave it an 8.
Energy Fleets.
I think this track is good. I like the instrumental. The guitar sounds really good on this one. Vocally, Archie was okay. I didn't think he was as lazy as he was in the other tracks. And, I thought it was pretty decent enough. It was probably up there as top 5 for me on the album. But, you can agree to disagree,
Yeah, the guitar on this track was great. I like the vocals and lyrics from Archie. Very tongue-in-cheek. And I think the ending is just really beautifully chaotic.
All right.
I give it an 8.
I gave it 7.
Last track. Please complete the.
Please fucking end me. I can appreciate this one for the lyricism on it, but personally, I think the instrumental it's cool in some parts, but it's very do nothing. You know, I think it's kind of do nothing, and I don't like Archie's vocals in the song. Again, I thought it was pretty boring, and adding on top of this instrumental, I just found it very just sleepy, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. And yeah, like I said, please end me.
The album ends with a track that's just really doom and gloom, unsettling as it gets. The instrumental is just dark and drony. But the highlight of this track for me were the bright synths that kind of finish the track in the album. And there's just like a spark of just optimism on this thing. And I think it's a really memorable way to close everything off.
I gave this track a 5.
I gave it an 8. Final thoughts?
Okay. I know throughout my whole review of this album, I may have come across as a bit of a dickhead, you could say.
But like, you're not Louis.
Look, if Louis was here, it would probably be much harsher. But I'm gonna just say, I don't think this is horrible or absolutely garbage. I think, like, if you like King Krule for what they do, and if you like Archie for his like lyrics and his vocals, I can appreciate that. You know, I can understand why people enjoy King Krule. I'm just not a King Krule person. You know, I just find the instrumentation. So most of it can be good at times, but I just don't really think like Archie like blends well with it because I don't really like his vocal performances. Like maybe it can grow on me in the future with more listens. Like hopefully it will. I want to like this, you know. Like I feel the same way about the U's, but like you know, I can appreciate that people like this. I can commend Archie for building a fan base, and I can commend him for making something that he wants to make that actually is pretty unique. You know, but personally, it didn't click with me as much as I hoped it would be. But maybe it might click with me in the future. It takes a long time to click with some artists. Like I could see myself clicking with this because I'll give an example of I don't know, Playboy Carti. It took me ages to get into his music, but now I fucking love it. But it might happen with King Krule. You never know. Like I'm optimistic about it. At the same time, as a first reaction to this album, I thought it was pretty okay. I can say I came away with 2 standout tracks, those being Perfecto, Miserable, and Underclass. I can really appreciate those tracks, and I can appreciate, Archie's artistic vision.
Yeah, as someone who is quite a fan of Archie's works, I can kind of share your sentiment there. In my first few listens, there wasn't much about this that grabbed me at all. I did find a lot of the tracks uneventful, just boring, just not attention grabbing whatsoever. But the more I listened to it, the more I picked up on some of like the subtle layers, emotions, and nuances, and they just stuck with me on every consecutive listen. And over time, everything has kind of floated to the surface for me, and I kind of understand this a lot more. And to me, it's a very great album. It's definitely one that takes a while to fully just lose yourself in and kind of understand and notice a lot of the subtle things Archie was going for. But after it clicks with you, I think this is a very good follow-up to the Ooze. And as time goes on, it might even prove to outgrow that album for me. For me, it's still, I prefer the Ooze. I love that album. But this is definitely on par, at least.
Right.
Overall score?
I gave this track album. I gave this album a light 6.
I give it a light to a decent 8.
Fair enough.
And that's all for the new albums this week.
Favorite release of the week?
I'd say HMLTD, West of Eden.
HMLTD as well, West of Eden. Great album.
Now on to the classic.
Closer by Joy Division.
Either Closer or Closer. I've heard both.
Closer or Closer. That's.
I think I usually say.
That is mind blowing. Oh no.
I usually say Closer because it is like their kind of last album. It's Ian Curtis's swan song in a way. So I like to say Closer.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially with the whole context of the band and tragic passing of Ian.
Yeah, so I don't have any notes on this because I forgot, but off the top of my head. Closer is Joy Division's second studio album. It was released in the summer of 1980. It's their last album ever, and it was released just a few months, I think like 2 months, after Ian Curtis killed himself at the age of 23 only. And yeah, a lot of this album is kind of shrouded in that event and the events leading up to that.
Right.
Yeah, first track, Atrocity Exhibition.
Danny Brown, yes, let's go. No, but for real though, I can tell Danny Brown was inspired by this track in particular. I mean, it's named after his fucking, like, he named it after this.
Yeah.
What am I saying? I can't even speak.
He named the album after this track, yeah.
Literally, and he sampled it on a track on that album too. The drums are great on this. The bass is cool. I love the eerie, like disturbing atmosphere. It's basically like, I don't know. It's immersive, and especially since like the whole context of the band and the noise in the background. It's really disturbing, and I really enjoy Curtis's vocals. They were really good on this track. It's a great opener to this album.
First and foremost, what a fucking drumline!
Literally.
It gives the song such a chaotic yet like kind of theatric feeling, which is suiting, as this is a very dark song about Ian feeling just completely hopeless and depressed and isolated, yet all eyes were on him, watching him and judging him and using his pain as a means of entertainment. And this definitely sets a precedent for the rest of the album. And right off the bat, I think it sets it off as Unknown Pleasures is darker or more personal and just harder to listen to, brother. Yeah, it was the main inspiration behind the album, Atrocity Exhibition. Danny also shared similar sentiments about just being center stage and everyone can watch him delve into insanity for their own entertainment. Yeah, as you said, it samples "This Is the Way, Step Inside" line on Gold Dust, and it's one of the best rap albums of all time. So to be inspired by a single song is quite impressive.
It is.
I give it a 10, easy 10.
I also give it 10, very fucking easy 10.
Isolation.
Instrumentally, again, it's very good, as expected. The weird synths kind of put me off a slight bit, but I think they like fit well with it. Vocally and lyrically, it's again very disturbing, and it's definitely it's a great track, and it really fits well. And with context, it's it hits home.
Yeah, the instrumental on this is off the bat quite upbeat, almost fun sounding at times with the synth line. Bass is just groovy. The drums are pounding. Synths are iconic, but Curtis's lyrics, he speaks of isolation, as the song might suggest. They tell a completely different story from the instrumentation, and this is easily one of the standouts of the album. One of the standouts of like the whole 80s, in my opinion. I love this track. And yeah, I give it a 10.
10.
Pass over.
Bass is fucking fantastic on this. I absolutely love the bass guitar on this. The guitars in general are fantastic on this track. Again, similar to last track, vocally and lyrically, Ian Curtis is disturbing. It really adds to this whole instrumental. It's fucked. Like I really like this whole. I really like the kind of what's the word? Help me, please.
You got it.
Help me, please.
Well, definition. What's the definition?
Fuck. Doesn't matter. Overall, it's a great track. It's a great track. Okay, I had a bit of a stroke there. It doesn't matter.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah, really dark, unsettling guitars and bass. Stephen Morris plays drums like he's a fucking drum machine sometimes. Every drum beat is just on point. Ian's vocals are just virtually devoid of any enthusiasm. They're just brutally dark, brutally unsettling. And yeah, it's not an easy track to listen to, but I love it. It's a 10.
It's a 10. Easy 10.
Colony, 10 out of 10. I just call out my score right off the bat. What am I doing?
I did the same. The bass is great. The drums are great. The guitars are fantastic. Again, similar to the last track, Ian Curtis's vocals and lyrics are great. Disturbing. Again, there's not much to say. It's just an amazing track. Fits well with this amazing album. Spoilers.
Yeah, really dark and abrasive guitars, and the drums and bass kind of sync expertly with them. Ian's vocals sound frustrated and almost angry, and most Joy Division songs have like a darkness to them. This one stands out because, to me, it's more unique in the way that it sounds angry in comparison to like a lot of the other songs, which are more just desperate and pained.
I gave this 10.
I called it out at the start when I was reading the title out. It's 10. It's a 10 for me. A means to an end.
10. I have nothing else to say. It is a 10.
Fair. The guitar and bass just like straight up sound fun at the start, and Ian as always sounds just hurt and desperate, and it makes the instrumental sound depressing and psychotic too. It's kind of like the musical equivalent of laughing through the pain.
Still funny how it happens,
ain't it? Yeah, it's 10 out of 10.
A 10, mate. A 10.
Yeah, it's a 10. Heart and Soul.
I really enjoy this track. I love the laid back like vibe of this whole track. Bass again. Fuck me, the bass is fantastic. To be fair, it's making me want to buy a bass guitar and learn it, but you know, like
go for it. I play drums.
I mean,
plays guitar.
I mean,
band.
I mean, I was gonna go with something more abstract, but you know, like the guitars pick up as well, and they sound fantastic. And again, vocal performance and lyrical performance from Ian Curtis is dark. Again, it's great. I love this.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kick-ass bass line and drums. I like how the vocals sound like more distant and eerie. The track is just so dark, it almost makes you uneasy. And it's definitely one of my favorites on the album. It's 10.
It's a damn 10. There's nothing else to say.
24 hours.
This one is more kind of fast-paced than previous tracks. The instrumentation, again, is fucking great. Again, Ian Curtis's performances are great. What else is there to say? There is nothing else to say.
Yeah, this track is just insane. Like, it may be one of the most like depressing Joy Division tracks to me. The instrumental just makes your heart race and then slows it down at just the right moments. It's great. It's through and through. It's great. Great is great's an understatement. What am I on about? It's incredible. It's a masterpiece.
It's a 10.
It's a 10. Whoa. The Eternal.
No, The Eternal is my favorite track on the album.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Wow.
I absolutely love the eeriness. The dark guitars are fantastic. The pianos are great. I love how emotional the instrumentation is. And we get a kind of an emotional performance from Ian Curtis. I think it's amazing. Like, it's my favorite track on the album, for fuck's sake. I don't know why. I just fuck with it so much.
Sweet. I mean, I don't really have any least favorites, but if I had to pick one, I might just say this one, which is cool. It's your favorite. It's still a 10. Spoiler alert. The song is just like a dark kind of droning cacophony of just depression. There's no life. It's just the epitome of doom and gloom, and that all makes it brilliant to me.
Bro, it's a fucking 10.
It's 10. It's a 10. Okay, last song. The score is definitely going to be suitable because it's called Decades and it's a 10.
It is a 10. It feels kind of this track to me. It feels kind of upbeat yet dark at the same time. And there's again not much else to say. Just great performances all together from each member, and it's just so fucking. It ties this album together very well. I fucking love it.
Yeah, like the creepy kind of unsettling instrumentals and these like synths that just pierce through the rest of the track, I think alone make it a standout, but there's just so much layers to this. Easily one of the best Joy Division songs, and they're as unsettling and eerie as always. Depressing too. It's a fucking great track. There's not a lot I can really say to put into words. That's kind of my sentiment on the whole album, which I'll get into now. But you go first. Final thoughts.
15. Overall, I think that this album is incredible. I absolutely loved the instrumentation throughout this one, especially the bass playing. I fucking loved bass playing on this track. It's absolutely fantastic. The lyrical department, it's very disturbing, you know. It just shows that Ian Curtis was unwell, and that it kind, in a way, like it with context, it makes sense. Like it was he went through a difficult time. He went through like a hard life, you could say, and especially when he died so young, it's tragic. And I think this album is amazing. I've never really been invested this quickly into a band than I have with Joy Division. And is it an unpopular opinion to say that this is better than Unknown Pleasures?
It's pretty split. Like, I'd say it's 50-50.
Well, personally, I love both albums. Unknown Pleasures is great, and so is Closer. But I think I'm leaning more towards Closer. I think this is amazing. It's a fantastic album. I would definitely listen to it a lot more. It's so good. I really love this album already.
Want a little vinyl tip? Both Unknown Pleasures and Closer, especially Closer, you can, like, most record shops sell them for like 15-16 euro.
Actually, no, there's a Duns. They were selling Unknown Pleasures for like 16 euro.
Yeah, the website I showed you, they have Closer, I think, for like 14 euro right now. And I don't actually have Closer, so I might.
I'm going to buy the Dan Deacon album first, then I might consider getting it.
I'm probably going to get Closer,
yeah.
And wait. Overall thoughts. I think Unknown Pleasures and Closer are both incredible albums, but both to me, I think, are incredible for different reasons. And while both are depressing, they're dark, unsettling, eerie, atmospheric. On Closer, all these things are just kicked into like another level of severity. While Unknown Pleasure has like glimmers of hope, this has just none. By the time this was released, Ian was gone already, and all that's left here is just hopelessness, despair, and suffering, especially knowing what happened to him. And it's musical form of depression. There's nothing here to hold on to in terms of hope, and it's a must-listen album for anyone. It's a one of a kind, and it's It's incredible. It's one of the best albums ever made.
All right. It's a 10 for me.
It's a 10. We
Woo!
Woohoo! I'll call out the albums for whenever we're recording next. I think it'll be next weekend.
Hopefully.
We have the Green Day Worst to Best on Wednesday.
I'm excited for that.
Hell yeah, me too. But yeah, the albums for what's next? I'll get a date here. We'll do it 21st, 22nd of March. We'll do 22nd.
All right, sweet.
Caroline Rose, Superstar. Beach Bunny, Honeymoon. Lil Uzi Vert, Eternal a Take.
Woo!
And Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. It's the classic.
Yes. Fuck yes. Let's go.
Any closing statements?
For any King Krule friends, please don't murder me or leak my address. Thanks.
I'll make sure he gets into Archie's music.
Hopefully, I want to get into his music. I want to get into a lot of artists that I kind of don't like. Let's be real here.
Yeah, it would be a great world if everyone just liked everything.
True. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode of the Taped Podcast. If you agreed with our opinions, please leave your thoughts and opinions as well on the albums in question too. We have necessary links into this. True. We have necessary links in the description to pretty much our own channels and stuff like that, and the Album of the Year accounts and the Rate Your Music accounts for the podcast. And
all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Peace.
See you next week. Bye.